for Aaron is, I mean, man, to make it all the way through camp, it's we always joke if he got drafted someplace where it was hot, I don't know how he'd have made it. The guy definitely sweats a lot.
Engine runs hot. How is his camp gone? I mean,
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, last year there was a lot of under scrutiny and stuff. It seems like this year it's more settled in.
Yeah, Aaron's done a really nice job. Played well in the game on Sunday. He gave up one, a little bit of pressure on one. I think that the quarterback scrambled to his right on. But Aaron has had a really good camp. Aaron's surprisingly, it's hard to say, he's a little bit better game day player than a practice player. I think some of that you know, the sweating, he's in great shape. His weight's been consistent now for over about a year and a half. The guys in the weight room and the nutrition department's kept him in great shape. But yet, sometimes in practice he does get a little worn down, and sometimes in practice it isn't always as clean. But in the games, he's always fresh, ready to go, and has had some really good game reps put in there. And so I'm really happy with his performance this camp and in the preseason so far.
How would you assess the third tackle competition right now?
It's great competition. That really is. I really enjoy it. Matt Pryor's really come on the last couple of weeks since the Raider game. Had a better game this week. Not to be confused with perfect, but practice-wise and stuff, he's been doing better. His conditioning and his weight management, things like that, for our system has been getting better all the time. Jalen Moore started off camp, off season. We had a really good off season and a good camp. Then had the bone bruise injury that he sustained during practice. Just prior to the week before we went to the Raiders, excuse me, and then it's kind of lingered a little bit. So he's been not maybe everything that we wanted to be up to this point. So it's a really good competition between he and Matt at this point for that third tackle spot. And then don't count Leroy Watson out. Leroy is a young developing player. He hasn't played a lot of offensive line, and that's really he's got a steeper learning curve. While he's got some really good talent and ability, he's still a ways away, but he's in the mix as well and competing with those guys, and probably more for the fourth, but they're all in the mix doing well.
Will Matt still have to show?
Here, Kyle, I think, said the hope was that he would be a guard at some point, and because of injuries and things like that, he's just never had that opportunity. Is that still something that could be in the cards for him?
You know, what's funny is Jalen's body type a little bit. Sorry guys, I'm trying to shake this thing. Jalen, his body type looks a little bit more like a guard, but the quickness, the twitch, and the things that sometimes need to play a guard isn't there as much. So he's much more of a tackle than a guard, even though I think that's what everybody in the draft, we kind of had him, you know, targeted that direction. But I've always been, my personal opinion has been, if a guy can play tackle, let him see if he can play tackle. They're harder to find than guards. And so if he can, he can. And he's done a serviceable job. We still are looking for just a little bit more from Jalen, and keep hoping he continues to work.
Is Mac still going to have to show that he could line up on the left side for the? I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, and you said maybe after the Raiders game you'd have to.
Yeah, we're still now. He's starting to get more comfortable in the system. So now I do think that at some point, I thought it might be before this time, but it's not. But that's still. Again, I'm not sure how the roster all shakes down, but if it had to be a right-left backup, a little bit like it was last year with McKivitz and Jalen, and then I think that it could be that way to start off. Maybe Matt over time gets more comfortable back on the left side. So, and again, it's nothing set in stone at all at this point. It's a very fluid depth chart at this point, except for the starting left tackle.
What's the next step for Watson? What does he need to kind of build in these?
Well, you guys have heard me say it before again and again, just how much playing time means. He's so much better this week just having played 2 preseason games. The Raider game, obviously, neither game being good enough. He's got to play better. But the point of it is that the guy's improving by learning, by getting the experience. He had a little bit of playing time in Atlanta last year in the preseason, and then this year with us, he's had the 2 games up to this point. So as much time as we can give him, that's what he has to get. And obviously, there's only so many game reps. There's so many of these guys, man. Back in the day, we would have sent them to NFL Europe, and they'd had a whole off season of playing games over there, just had a chance to play a lot of football. And they come back to us, and even though they're beat up and tired, when they would come back to us, they would have played, and they kind of knock off. I don't know what, it's not rust, but they get some playing time, things that some guys didn't have a lot of in college, or they're changing positions and things like that. Leroy, they don't have that benefit. Off-season OTAs aren't the same as they used to be. Training camp's not the same as they used to be. There's just not as many opportunities to get these guys reps to develop them, other than practice reps, and they're just not quite the same.
Is it common to have players that are better game day players than practice players in your experience?
Not really. I mean, Aaron kind of jumped off the screen at us when we got to the opening day, and He's downfield celebrating the end zone. He's cleaning the pile off. He's leading screens downfield. You saw the other day he was out in front of Debo's screen and was there was an almost block, but he was down there hustling his butt off to make a play. And it's not often with offensive linemen that you see that drastic. It's a big difference for Aaron. I mean, he's a good practice player, but it's a grind, and I can't explain it other than I think a little bit the sweat. I hate saying that. I mean, it sounds weird, but something about it. But on game day, he does actually perform quite a bit better than practice. It's cool to watch.
Nick got that first opportunity yesterday after Aaron cramped up. Have you been happy with his progress here through training camp?
Same things I just mentioned with Leroy, and probably Nick even more so, because he's been an offensive lineman, even though it was at Fordham. Nothing against Fordham, it just wasn't, not the highest competition. And he really is taking advantage of these reps, and through the reps of the first couple of games, again, this last game was a big step for him. The energy that he played with, the effort that he played with, the confidence that he played with. And so yesterday when he stepped in, it was nice to see him in there and really not miss a beat. He did a nice job, competed well. It was practice obviously, but I'm really happy with Nick's progress. Again, he could use a whole other preseason to get him ready to go, and he's not going to get that opportunity, but he's going to get some more game reps this week, and if the time comes during the season and he has to contribute, he'll be as ready as he can be at this point.
Kyle wasn't ready to divulge playing time and stuff yet yesterday, but he did say after the Chargers game he expected the ones to go at least a little bit against the Chargers. And Jake Brendel said yesterday it was his understanding that the ones were going to play some. What do you think they actually get out of, say, 10 to 15 snaps in the last preseason game that helps you going into Pittsburgh?
I mentioned it last week talking about just the most tired I've ever seen players being at the end of that first drive of that first game, because that real true strain, they do get some close to live game reps. I mean, they are live game reps. There's no question a preseason game is live. I'll just never forget I always tell stories. We always have a time crunch, I'm sorry, but my first preseason game in the NFL in 1993 was the Dallas Cowboys. We were in Minnesota, we played the Cowboys, Holden Stadium, the big star in the middle of the field and all that, man, and I thought it was a Super Bowl. I really did. I thought this game meant everything. And you go out and you realize, this is a preseason game, and a lot of guys that are on the team aren't going to make the team. We're probably not going to have it. Winning and losing doesn't matter as much. In the regular season game, we played the Raiders in the LA Coliseum, Howie Long, and I went, wow, there was a huge step up in the level of competition. And then then we get to the playoffs, obviously, it steps up again. And I think that's so there is that, you're pushing them as far as you can push them to get them a couple of game reps so that they feel that strain, that stress that they're going to feel come opening day, and that's really what there is to benefit from.
How much did Spencer Burford improve this offseason?
A lot. He's taken a ton of work in his body. He's remade himself. He looks like a different guy. When you watch the tapes from a year ago, you see him walking around now. He's just really worked very hard. His nutrition, his diet. He takes seriously what he does. His improvement mentally, as far as understanding the offense. Best guy I ever described it to was a guy in Baltimore once said, "What's year one? Year one, all I see in the world is what's right in front of me." That second year, man, those blinders start to come off, and you start to see a whole lot more of the total game. Not to be confused with being there yet. He's still got a lot of work to do on that, but it's a night and day difference in his physical maturation and then also his mental understanding of the game.
Has Kivett's given you everything you wanted to see from the beginning of training camp to now? Be ready to step in and take that
Knocking
spot?
on wood, yes he has. He's been everything he's advertised. He's a very consistent pass blocker. He's consistent in the run game. He brings a level of toughness and physicality to our front, and we're very happy with what he's done so far.
All good? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
you.
I'm not sorry.